In 1999, Drew returned to television once again for one night only. Again. This time as part of 1999's Comic Relief Telethon. The Curse of a Fatal Death is the first Ninth Doctor we're going to encounter out of 3.
Yeah.
He's played by Rowan Atkinson in a short 20-minute into 10-minute parts story starring him, starring Julia Sawahala and Jonathan Pryce, plus guests. As the Doctor, his companion Emma, and the Master, respectively, it's the first Doctor Who script to be written by future showrunner Stephen Moffat.
Crazy!
And
that's crazy.
It's both a loving homage and a terrifying glimpse into the future of the show. But we didn't realise it at the time, obviously.
Oh my god.
I'm Chris.
I'm not Chris.
And I've watched this so many times, but Lou's seeing it for the very first time as we just watched it. Would you care to explain the basic plot of the greatest parody title they ever could have had, really? The Curse of Fatal Death.
The Doctor needs to tell the Master something, so they plan to meet at a certain place.
Kind of tertiary.
But the Master has planned to kill the Doctor in different ways. But the Doctor has preempted what he was thinking.
Well, has bribed the architect first in succession.
Yeah. And so it's like, I went back in time and I bribed the architect. Well, I went further back in time and bribed the architect first. Well, I knew you were going to do that, so I went further back in time, and it just carried on like that. But the Doctor wants to tell the Master that he's retiring, and because he saved every species 27 times or something, did he
Every
say?
planet, sum total of 27 times, yeah.
So he's retiring and marrying his companion Emma.
Emma, yeah. Played by Julia Sawala, who I mostly remember from AbFab.
Yeah.
Yeah. So already it's like with the Doctor and the companion falling in love. That had never... Well, I guess it happened in that movie a couple of years ago, but that's strange. This is unusual. And they want to at least let the Master know that it's happening because they feel they want to give him the courtesy of saying, I'm retiring and also I'm getting married. But the Master springs several death traps, resulting in what death trap that triggers the sort of the end of the story?
He bribes the architect into putting a trapdoor lever into a wall for where the Doctor is standing. But when he pulls the lever, the floor disappears underneath him.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Doctor
not only bribed the architect,
but took him to lunch first.
Took the architect on a fancy meal. Yeah.
So the Master falls into the sewers, and it takes 300 odd years to get out of it.
312, because each time it increases by a multiple of 312. Because he falls in twice after that.
2 more times. And he brings back the Daleks one of those times.
Yeah.
And
he's been augmented.
Yeah.
With superior Dalek technology, as Jonathan Pryce keeps saying.
He's essentially got Dalek boobies.
Yeah, well, he has a plunger hand, and then he has has etheric beam locators. I think you'll find they're called. Thank you very much. Yeah. And also, I see breasts. So part
Dalek bumps.
After the cliffhanger of 100 Daleks stopping our heroes from escaping, we cut to a Dalek ship where they're tied to a chair. Why is there a chair on a Dalek ship? We'll explain later. And when the Doctor finds out that the Master has given the Daleks the keys to a super weapon, which is a beam, how is it going to help them conquer the universe? We'll explain later. the the Daleks reveal to the Doctor, one whispering Dalek reveals to the Doctor that they plan to kill the Master the moment he's helped them out in the first
Oh
place.
my god, it does whisper.
Yeah. I just realised. Yeah.
Funny.
Then so the Doctor communicates in Tuzrun, aka the
Toots.
language of farts, to fill the Master in on what's happening. The Daleks rumble them, and in the ensuing gunfire, the weapon is destroyed. The console is destroyed, but the weapon's going to implode. No, it's not only going to explode; it will implode. And they don't go into any detail on how this works. They're just giving you words, which is kind of part of the charm of it. Really, they're just giving you jargon and hoping you go, "Oh no!" But the Doctor's hitting the crossfire, resulting in a comedic fallout of multiple regeneration sequences. Giving us a further 4 extra incarnations of the Doctor in this comedy special, aka it's for charity, so let's fan cast the Doctor a bunch of times.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Curse of Fatal
I
Death?
thought it was hilarious.
It's fun, isn't it?
Really
it's weird.
funny.
It's got some jokes that are a bit like, really? But sort of only if you overthink it, I guess. And also, my enjoyment of it's got weirder each time because I can see things in this that are done here as jokes, that are done here for comedy, that Stephen Moffat then went ahead and did in his time as showrunner.
Like what?
And it's very, very, very weird.
Go on.
The Doctor and the Master having a fleetingly sexual relationship.
Sexy boo.
Yeah.
Did they have a fleetingly sexual relationship?
Well, the way Missy introduces herself to the Doctor is by leaping on him and snogging his face off, and she constantly refers to him as her boyfriend. And it's like, this just came out of nowhere. Okie dokie. The idea of the Doctor falling not only in love, but sort of in a lustful relationship with his companion. Because Smith is like that with Coleman. Like, the Doctor, for some reason, keeps making throwaway references to how attractive he finds Clara. And it's a little bit weird.
That makes me want to puke.
Yes. Makes me want to do a tiny vomit. The idea of the Doctor solving a problem by making a note of going to go back in time later to fix it. Which is cute as a throwaway thing, but like that was like the resolution of Series 6's big, we saw the Doctor die, how's that going to get resolved storyline? And it's sort of like, oh, that's a bit of a shame. It's just, there's little things. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how the fact that it's just really funny and goofy and a big homage to the show. There's clearly a lot of love for the show in it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's references to the novelizations, the whole never cruel, never cowardly stuff.
Yeah.
The idea of the universe, like the Doctor, the 12th incarnation getting hit by the beam should kill them. And Emma makes the point of saying maybe even the universe can't bear to live without the Doctor when they still regenerate. There's some great gags, like the Tercerans like being a species that fart to communicate, making them like the kindest, noblest, and nicest species ever, but also the most neglected and ignored because no one could stand to be around them, and they eventually died because they discovered fire. That's a great idea.
No.
The TARDISes look great, although those columns are moving way too fast.
Way too fast.
Oh my god!
I'd be like, wow.
Calm down, son. But I like the fact that it's clearly the same set and they just light it differently because they felt like different TARDISes.
Did they? Did they
Oh
really?
yeah, well, all right.
Did they?
I think Jonathan Pryce is great
There's a
as the
devil.
Master. Comedy Master he may be, but he's a great Master.
He is pretty good. I would definitely. I would accept it if he were a Master.
Certain doob. Sorry, that was me. Oh my god, has the camera been tilted by the dog? I don't know, but the cat's watching us. All the same. Like, he's great. Doctor and Companion are fun. I mean, Rowan Atkinson's just doing one of his sort of classic, more deadpan deliveries. It's he's kind of playing it, I guess, like, it's more like, it's sort of friendly Blackadder.
Yeah.
Like, there's that kind of dry wit, but he's also not a git. So
Dry
there's
wit,
that.
not a git.
His costume's pretty good, actually.
It is good.
It's kind of McGann's costume, but with a bit of like the Colin Sylvester kind of patterning stuff with his waistcoat.
I feel like that was maybe what Colin would have wanted.
Yeah, the darker Victorian thing. Yeah. Well, he did say. It's just cute because it's just fan casting, isn't it? It's like, who are we going to cast in this comedy special? Let's cast Rowan Atkinson. Like, why not? Let's go for it. And it's also a few of the firsts in this. It's the first time the Mill did effects for Doctor Who. They'll go on to do it when it comes back.
Oh, Jesus.
Squeaky pig near the camera. It's the first time it's been the show has been, because it's an official Doctor Who product. Like it's a class of Doctor Who production. It's the first time the show's been produced by a female producer since Verity Lambert. It's also the very first time for a couple of things we could never have really known, which is it's the first time Richard E. Grant will play the Doctor. It's the first time a 10th incarnation will lick things. Enthusiastically. And it's also the first time the notion that the 13th Doctor will be a woman. Let's talk about the wonderful rapid regeneration sequence, because like, a lot of love for Doctor Who's shown in Moffat's throwaway jokes, like gravel quarries and the fact that the corridor they're running down is the same one shot 3 different times at only slightly different angles. The Daleks sort of are a mix of wonderful fan props and actual props, and also like model shots where they're just sort of wibbling around and stacked up to look like there's more of them. The Daleks even are a homage. It's Roy Skelton, Zippy himself. It's Roy Skelton's last performance in the role of the Daleks as well. But let's talk about the throwaway regeneration, because that was fun. Did you know that was coming? Did you know that it was going to end with like multiple different incarnations?
I kind of had a little sort of hint to it, because I think I must have seen clips of it in shows or something, or
maybe we've talked about it before. Or,
I knew Joanna Lumley was in it.
Okay.
But I didn't know everybody else was in it.
So it goes from Rowan Atkinson to Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant.
Who's Lick the Mirror handsome.
Oh
yeah, you're the camp one. Not camp. Oh yeah? Nice tits.
Richard E. Grant. I'm sorry to tell you this, husband of mine.
No, go ahead.
I fancy Richard E. Grant.
You don't only fancy Richard E. Grant, you fancy the little vampire, Richard
I do!
E. Grant.
That was like my sexual awakening when I watched that as a teenager. Like,
do you have him on Instagram?
My God, I adore him.
Get him online. I think he's on Instagram. He's definitely on Twitter, because he just posts delightful, weird little... He's become like the giddy old rock dad. That's kind of the persona he's got now. And he just... Like, I dislike Star Wars Episode 9 a lot. I wish I had enthusiasm for it the same way Richard E. Grant had for being in it. Because
Richard E. Grant was in it?
Richard E. Grant's in Episode 9.
No way.
And it's a role that doesn't utilise the best of his talents. But he's obviously very good, but it's just sort of like...
Is he a bad guy?
Of course he is. He's a First Order officer. But it's that whole thing of like all the videos around the time it was coming out, he was just posting because he loves Star Wars. So like all of his little videos were just him being like pointing at the posters of the junkets and just like giggling like a child.
Oh my God,
like,
he's
really
adorable.
happy.
He's so cute.
And in this, he's great. Like the minute and a half he's the Doctor, he's fantastic in it.
So good.
Like, he's so good. And again, suits that same costume. It's like, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Emma is not that annoyed that her future fiancé, the Doctor, has turned into this body. In fact, she thinks she can deal with it quite well. She's quite happy. Yeah. How can I forget the only travelling companion I've ever had? You've travelled with hundreds of people. The only companion I've ever had. It's like, oh, okay. He then accidentally explodes and regenerates into a much shyer incarnation played by Jim Broadbent.
Yay!
Which was the point where you wouldn't stop giggling. You were laughing so much.
I love Jim Broadbent.
Prior to that, it was the occasional expression Rowan Atkinson made or the occasional moment from Jonathan Pryce. Got you giggling, but as soon as he turned into Jim Broadbent, you wouldn't stop laughing.
He's so cute. The fact that he's like skipping around because he's shy around girls.
Shy around girls now. Oh.
I adore Jim Broadbent. He is such a good actor, and he is a precious man and a national treasure, and should be protected at all costs.
Well, he gives way by going to the back corridor and finding out what the problem is and getting blown up once again, because it turned out
he's not a bad guy in like social media or anything, is he?
No, what would you think?
I don't know, because some people are coming out as bad people.
I have no idea if Jim Broadbent's a goodie or a baddie, but we're talking about him as an actor, damn it. And speaking of actors who are bloody good actors, and especially one who in recent years has finally got to show off his character acting chops, like he clearly always wanted to do, but he was always stuck in bloody leading roles because he's terribly handsome.
Is he though?
Hugh Grant is handsome.
I don't.
Hugh Grant is the next incarnation.
I don't think Hugh Grant's attractive.
We need to watch the Paddington movies because no mention of it on my streams or anything ever goes without people being like, why have you not watched them yet? Because the first one's endearing as hell, and the second one is apparently like the best family movie of the last decade.
My mum
and
loves
part
them.
of that is because of him as the villain. Because it's one of those where a meme, we're recording this in October, a meme recently doing the rounds on Twitter was like, post an image of a film where you know the actor is like, it was just the best time. They were having basically like post an image of an actor having the time of their life in a role.
Yeah.
And so many of them were just people posting images of Hugh Grant in Paddington 2.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I think I need to watch Paddington 2. Even if I don't watch Paddington 1, I think I need to watch Paddington 2.
Who is Paddington?
Oh God. Oh, I've forgotten his name and it's really annoying me now. He's Q in the more recent James Bonds.
Oh,
Ben Whishaw. Ben Whishaw.
Yeah.
Because it was Colin Firth for the first one, right up until... He would have been a fun throwaway Doctor in this actually as well.
Yeah,
it was Colin Firth right up until like the 11th hour, and then they changed it to Ben Whishaw. And it was because like while they were editing the final film together, they were like, this voice just doesn't quite... It's not quite right. Like they got all the way through it.
Young enough.
But it wasn't about age or thing. It's just sort of they realised that it's like it's not quite there, and they all made the mutual decision during the ADR time. So during like the last month of production, where he'd just do some pickup lines, they just made the decision, nah. And he stepped down, and Ben Whishaw was cast. But yeah, anyway, Paddington. Woo. Hugh Grant's great in this, and he gets to die, and he gets a very John Pertwee-esque thingy where he's like halfway through a sentence and then dies. Because I'll explain. And then he's gone. You're like, oh. And at this point you feel like Moffat is eulogising the show that's clearly not coming back now. Like, it's been 10 years, it's not coming back. We've had the movie, we've had little bits and pieces keeping us going, but sod it. If this is the last hurrah of Doctor Who as just a little comedy special, then let's make a point of saying that, like, yeah, you all should feel bad that this isn't around anymore. Off goes the Doctor. But the universe can't bear to be without the Doctor. So the Doctor comes back one more time as Joanna Lumley.
Hooray!
And in the spirit of this just being a throwaway jokey comedy, the Sonic Screwdriver joke is quite funny.
Yes.
Thinking later on to characters like River Song and stuff is just sort of like, I don't know. It's less. I find this less funny in retrospect, but that's because I've really deep dived on the later era that we've yet to watch in this marathon for Doctor Who magazine and stuff. So I'm like, I spot the tropes more. And when we get round to those seasons, I'll be like, do you remember that in Fatal Death?
Well, the thing
do you remember that in Fatal Death?
The
do you remember that in Fatal Death?
It fits in because it's a comedy.
Yeah, it works in a comedy. In the context of comedy, it's just cute and kind of funny and a bit naughty, a bit sexy.
Naughty.
Look, Emma, I have etheric beam locators. Joanna Lumley's freaking fabulous, so it's just cool to end on that. And I love the fact that it's very much sort of Emma's like, I'm not. I've always, she says, she looks at herself and she realises she's a woman. She goes, I've always wanted to get my hands on one of these, referring to her body. Yeah. And Emma goes, yeah, the problem is I haven't. And it's just sort of very plainly, it's just like, I'm not. I don't think the sentence has ever been quite so accurately used. You're just not the man I fell in love with. And the Doctor's song is like, okay, fair enough. And it's sort of sweet that it still ends with like, oh, we're going to be mates anyway. Sod it, off we go.
We're still best mates.
Although the Master and the Doctor are apparently going to go and have a quickie around the corner first anyway. Just that final shot where John Lumley's hand just drifts down to Jonathan Pryce's buttock and cups it just as they disappear and the credits start to roll. It's all daft comedy fun. It's sort of Doctor Who meets the least egregious carry-on jokes, really. It sort of sits in that comfy kind of, this is a wacky parody, but it's one made with love.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, even if I do overanalyze it too much. What did you think? Would you recommend people check it out?
Absolutely. It was very funny. Very funny, but like you say, these people appear to love Doctor Who.
I mean, Stephen Moffat had written stuff at this point for it, and he was a established comedy writer. And see Virtue producing on it. The two of them would work together, obviously, in a lot of shows as their career and like marriage becomes a thing. So like it is something that the people who worked on this are attached to. Richard Curtis was the executive producer of the special because it's comic relief. Of course, he goes ahead and directs, or writes rather, Vincent and the Doctor in season 5. So there's lots of connections here and there. Like Richard E. Grant will come back once, as we will talk about next time, and then returns to the show again as the Great Intelligence later on. Who else has popped back up? Robert's not popped up in it, has he? Hugh Grant's not popped in it. Hugh Grant was the first choice for the reboot.
Really?
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, let me know in the comments if it's come out since. It's not true. Hugh Grant was the first person Russell T Davies wanted to who shot the role to. Was like, would you be interested in playing the Doctor? But I'm glad that Hugh Grant, I think he didn't want to do the TV sort of schedule. He preferred doing movie kind of projects where it'd be like, 3 or 4 months on a project, bit of downtime, 3 or 4 months, whereas the TV thing is like 10 solid months of work and then another month of promotion. He just didn't really fancy it. And I'm glad, because it meant that, the communication comes in through from Chris Eccleston saying, I've heard you doing it, I'd like a shot at it. And Russell was like, oh my god, of course, yes, of course you, let's do this. But it's nice to know that Hugh Grant dips in here and pops up. Have you seen The Curse of Fatal Death? If you haven't, good news. It's available to watch for free on YouTube, because it's a charity special, so they can't sell it. Although you can buy a copy of it on iTunes if you want to add it to your library. The money goes to Comic Relief. Or you can watch it on YouTube, on the Doctor Who YouTube channel, or the Comic Relief YouTube channel. And ad revenue goes toward those the charities involved in the upload of it. So do it. Curse of Fatal Death. We will be back very soon with the 40th anniversary and the return of Doctor Who. Nearly the return of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But animated. And with more Richard E. Grant.
Hooray!
See you soon!
Bye!
Ooh, cat.